I know what you're thinking. Andy, what's with the fancy duds and the silly hat? I'll tell you what's up. It's the 1-year anniversary for Two Brew Tuesday. That's what's up.
Two Brew Tuesday. Drink 2 beers, yeah! Drink 2 beers, it's Two Brew Tuesday.
Hello, my beer drinking friends, and welcome to another Two Brew Tuesday. I'm your host, Andy, and today we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of this very special segment. And I thought we might take a quick look back at some of our previous episodes. Hi, Wild World of Beer fans. This is Andy, here with a new segment we are calling Two Brew Tuesday. Hi, Wild World of Beer fans. This is Andy. This is Andy, my beer drinking friends. I'm your host, Andy. My name is Andy, and today we're going to be drinking some beers. So first up, always drink 2 beers on Tuesday. Let me grab my bottle opener, which I forgot to put on the table. Ooh, this one's lively. If I can get the cork out of here. More beer. That's really nice. Wow, and just big fruity apple, dark cherry, more of that whiskey bourbon kind of flavor to it. Currant, plum. Doesn't taste like somebody dumped like a thick steak, slap you across the face. Big and hearty. Raisin, a little bit of chocolate, bit of caramel, tobacco, banana, lactic, Brett, PDO, and lactobacillus. Pop a couple of Tums in. That burning warmth in the finish. I really don't think you can beat this deal. I actually grew a bunch of cucumbers this year. This is the big meats. Anytime you just want a little relaxation, have a little bit of a bigger mouthfeel. Finishing off this whole can, you'd be feeling pretty good, right?
Really good.
Hey man. Clearly somebody's jealous that they're not getting as much beer as I am, so.
It's not that bad.
I know there's an ABV on here somewhere for me. Even at 10%, I mean, it's just super drinkable. So you'll definitely feel it without knowing it. Cheers, 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 cheers. So cheers, and we'll see you next time. All right, enough reminiscing. It is still Tuesday, so you know what that means. I've got to drink 2 more beers. And today we're drinking a couple of beers that come to us from Phoenix, Arizona. First up, we've got a beer from Mother Bunch Brewing Company. They're located in Phoenix. They actually started in 2014. They're a husband and wife team that used to be homebrewers. Mother Bunch is actually a reference to a story from the 1700s. And it also references the fact that in the past, a lot of times the job of brewing actually fell on women. So Mother Bunch pays homage to that tradition, and we've got from them their Cherry Popper Porter. So I'm gonna crack this crowler open, if I can get it. Ooh, a lot of carbonation. That guy clearly wants to come out of the can and get in my mouth. So we will oblige the beer and pour it into this glass. All right, so it's got a nice dark brown color to it. You know, as I was pouring it, you could see through it a little bit, and I can tell, you know, it's got a nice sort of ruby highlight to it. So it's not super dark like a stout might be. It's also got a super thick, foamy, tan-colored head, lots of bubbles. There's definitely good carbonation in this beer. Oh wow. So it's got a very rich malt presence in the nose. It's also, you can tell that there's cherry in there. It's got a nice fruitiness. And then you can also tell a little bit, there's that roasty character from those dark grains. And you know, it seems like most of that fruit character is probably coming from the cherries. So it's not like a ton of yeast character. I'm sure it's probably an American ale yeast. It smells really good. I can't wait to take a sip here. Oh wow. All right, so this beer, I mean, it is pretty malt forward. I'm getting a lot of those roasty notes, getting a little bit of caramel, but the cherry, I mean, this really does almost taste like cherry pie. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I would say it's got a medium-low bitterness. I'd say the hops, there are hops there, but it's really staying in the background, just enough to keep it from being too sweet in the finish. But there's no real hop flavor. I'm not getting any pine or resin or anything like that. Yeah, and you know, this is a very rich beer, but it only checks in at about 5.2% is what it says here on the crowler. Hopefully that's accurate. So yeah, this is actually a very pleasant beer. I could see this as being something you'd have, you know, over ice cream for sure. It would make probably an amazing ice cream beer float. But I could also see it pairing well with like a steak or some rich creamy pasta, something like that. And even some of, like, you know, maybe like a hard cheese. That is really flavorful. Finish is pretty dry. You know, it does have a lot of presence from the cherry, so it kind of leaves a sweet impression, but it's the body's pretty low, so you know it's not a lot of residual sugar that's leading to that. All right, well, let's move on to our second beer. That's coming to us also from Phoenix. This is from SunUp Brewing Company. These guys have been brewing since about 2001. They actually started with some beers from Sonora Brewing Company. And then when Sonora actually went out of business, they ended up bringing over their brewmaster and getting their own brew system. And they've been, you know, flying high ever since then. From them, we've got their White Russian Imperial Coffee Stout. So, another nice dark beer. Good crack on the can, of course. Let's get this guy in a glass. Oh wow, so that is super dark. Very rich. It even, you can just tell by pouring it, it's got like a thickness to it, a nice viscosity. You cannot see through this beer because it is pitch black. Again, it's got a pretty good size tan head, almost bordering on brown because it is, again, so dark, but lots of bubbles. There's definitely good carbonation in here. Yeah, so I mentioned, of course, this Russian Imperial Stout is a coffee stout, and the nose is all about that roasted coffee flavor. There's just a touch of vanilla in there as well, and yeah, let's take a sip and see what it tastes like. Ooh. All right, this is some great cold weather beer right here because it's got a nice warming sensation as you take that sip. It's got a ton of malt. You know, it starts with sort of the bready notes, but it's got also a big, you know, caramelly note to it as well. And then of course it drives right into those roasty stout flavors with, of course, lots of coffee. It's almost like an espresso type flavor. There's a little bit even in the back end of like sort of a mild tobacco note. Yeah, and the finish also has just, again, a little bit of vanilla as well. You know, the body on this one, it does taste, you know, like it's got a little bit of a sweeter finish, but it definitely has sort of that medium to medium high body. There's definitely a thickness, a weight in your mouth when you're drinking this beer. I wouldn't say this is your traditional session beer because it does check in at 9.3%. You could definitely turn this into a session beer, but it's going to probably be a pretty short session. Yeah, I mean, both of these beers actually, you know, make me think of dessert. You know, they both have an intense, rich character that would seem to go great as an ice cream float. I could also see this one pairing really good with, you know, some of the wild meats, like a venison or maybe even like a lamb. But you know, with most beers, you could also just drink this guy alone. I think, you know, this would be great sitting by on a cold night, sitting by the fire. A great sipping beer to enjoy. I think as it warms up, it'll open up even more flavors as it's sitting in your glass. So yeah, I highly recommend this beer. So those are our 2 beers for Two Brew Tuesday. As always, you know, if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel, that way you won't miss out on any of our content. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you so much to everybody who's been watching for the past year. You know, we really appreciate all you guys. And until next week, everybody, cheers.